Friends, thank you for watching my channel. I just want to remind you, if you need wallpaper, go to www.wallpaperboulevard.com. Tell them Spencer sent you. In fact, if you use my hashtag, Spencer Colgan is wallpaper, they'll be sure to give you a 10% off at your checkout. No matter how much you order, they have a wide selection of wallpaper. Check it out. Tell them I said hello. Popcorn ceilings. Not my favorite task, I'll be honest, and probably not yours. In fact, I'll bet you if you're watching this video, your popcorn ceiling has been up for years to your displeasure. You've probably wanted to take it down for years. Your wife has been complaining, or you've been complaining, your kids are complaining, everybody's complaining. Well, I'm going to show you how to take this down. It's actually not that hard, but it does require you to displace all of your furniture from one side of the room to the other so that you can get it down. There's no way to protect it other than to move it out of the way, because it literally is a snowfall. So I suppose the most important thing to discuss in the beginning of the video is to cover your floors in such a way that it can tolerate having wet, paper-like material on it. Because once the popcorn, all it is little bits of a compound that you can spit joint compound onto the ceiling and make popcorn. But what it is a water-soluble substance that becomes saturated with water and becomes as sticky as plaster. It's the best way I can describe it. So you don't want it on your floor. You don't want to say, just scrape it off, get it on the floor, we'll clean it up later. You'll be working at least one full day getting this stuff out of your grout. So I suggest two layers of paper, and then in between the paper you put painter's plastic so that the saturation doesn't compromise the integrity of the paper that you're using to cover your floor. What do I mean by that? If it penetrates the paper, if you're old enough, you'll remember a commercial about paper towels, and they would put like fruits on them, right? And so I think it was Bounty. They used the Bounty, the paper towels, they wet it, and then they put like potatoes on it. Anyway, if you wet this paper too much, it will become part of your problem and it will stick to your floor. So I suggest plastic in between. Why don't I suggest plastic on the top of this? Once you wet the plastic, it will become as dangerous as walking on a frozen lake. Okay? So don't do that. So now you're going to want to wet your ceiling. And so there are several ways to do it. Think of all of the things you can wet your ceiling with. You can bring in a garden hose, right? But you wouldn't do that. You can get one of these, right? If you want to keep your budget low, you can do this and give yourself arthritis, right? So you can do this and get you and your friends or your family to get several of these, and it'll work. Look, you want to wet it down until using, we'll get into the tool we'll use, but until you use your tool to scrape this off and you see that it comes down most of it, then you've wet it enough, okay? But in the beginning, you can't wet it enough. Don't take my word literally, but literally it has to be wet sufficiently to where the popcorn will come off easily. If you're just scraping over bumps, stop scraping and wet it more because you haven't wet it enough. So we can use this or multiple of these, or we can use a paint sprayer. If you're in the continental United States, I suggest you go to Harbor Freight and get yourself one for about $280. It's well worth it if your budget allows it. And I'll show you that in a few on this video. So we're covering the chandelier, right? You want to get that covered. And we just built a little tape barrier, and we're sticking the plastic to the tape so that our chandelier will be perfectly covered. So this is a paint sprayer from Harbor Freight, and so I just want to use it to expedite the spray process, right? So I can cover a lot more territory, you would agree, by spraying it. Your choice. You can accomplish the same thing, with your water bottles, okay?
I'm not gonna.
What you're trying to do is saturate the surface without saturating the drywall underneath it. And that's the only thing you as a do-it-yourselfer may not know how to do it. But I can tell you this. If you over-wet this, and you wind up wetting the ceiling underneath it, it's only water, and it will dry. The test will be, if you take your tool after you wet it and give it a half an hour, I put 3 layers of water on it. Let's see where we're at. Now, look at the angle. It's not this. You know what this will do? It'll go through the sheetrock. And we will penetrate the sheetrock. Oh yeah, we're gonna do that on this video. Because as you're moving quickly, it catches. But to avoid that in a large scale basis, you wanna keep the angle close to the ceiling. Just so you're scraping off just the popcorn. See that? Now, our popcorn was penetrated with water, and it wet the ceiling, lo and behold. And I'm not worried about it, and neither should you. Okay? You can do this. I don't care if you've never done it before. You don't need to go out and hire a guy who takes a bunch of cigarette breaks in your house, when you don't even smoke, by the way, and is on the phone arguing with his lawyer or whoever. You can do this. If I can do it, you can do this. And I mean that. You know where I learned this? I bought a house when I was 23.
That's amazing, isn't it?
And I didn't have the money to go out and hire people. So I said, how do you do this? And people who wanted to share, this is before YouTube, people who wanted to share their information shared it. But there were some who wouldn't share it. But this is how you do it. Now, since we started wetting the ceiling, we let the first layer of paper absorb the water. But you know what happens if you start walking on that? You're going to penetrate the paper and you're going to mush this into the floor. So before we started scraping, we put a second layer of paper down. No tape, because it's going to stick to the water anyway. Okay? So I'm going to keep doing this off of video. And remember, now for the purposes of to show you how not to do it, I'm going to do what you shouldn't do. Okay? Now for those of you who skipped to this part of the video, I'm doing this on purpose. Look, you change the angle because you're getting real distracted. Oh my gosh, I'm trying to go through the ceiling. I can't even do it. Good. That means it's really not wet. It's just damp. You know what I mean. If you start doing this, you're going to put this through the ceiling. Okay? So do you think you can do this? Do you believe me when I tell you that you can do it? Please believe me. You can do it. Now don't start using vinegar on your ceiling. Oh, I heard you can use vinegar. You can. And if you want to breathe in vinegar as you spray this onto your ceiling, fine. You know, you're going to wind up with a respiratory inflammation because vinegar is good in your belly, but it's not good in your lungs because it's an acidic, right?
Big chunk of really heavy meat. Oh, sorry. I cut it off right here.
So far, so good.
That's the easiest way.
Now, here's a little suggestion, a little help for you while you're doing this. So, you see that the technician is holding the scraper on top of popcorn. Do you think it would be good for him to proceed scraping that off while he's on the popcorn? Or should he do it like this? Show like before. Should he start on a clean area and then move forward? Move forward? Which way would you do? Keep going. Which way do you think he should proceed? Let's do it on the popcorn. Let's start on the popcorn and try to scrape that off. Okay. The disadvantages of doing it like this is this. First of all, you leave behind an area that's not clean. Second of all, you force your hand to penetrate the popcorn and possibly the ceiling as well. When you start here, like he's doing here, and move forward, you're starting on a flat surface. The blade will be inclined to stay on the flat surface and scrape only what's in its path. If you start on the popcorn, your hand will be forced to penetrate the rough surface that it feels, and it will not know when to stop, and it will likely penetrate the paper on the ceiling. And when you do that 25 times, you'll have 25 holes you'll be patching at the end of the job. Now you say to me, oh, Spencer, you're just really good at it. I can't do this. Well, how old are you? You get the point? If an 8-year-old can do it, trust me, please, you can do this. You can. Have confidence in yourself and just follow these simple instructions. Okay? It's really that simple. And I'll show you how to get the remainder of the ceiling clean. But for this phase, you can do this. Now, if you only have a broom, fine. I'm using a shop vac, but you may not have one. You may be in a small place. Your budget doesn't allow it. You got a tight budget, no big deal. Couple of brooms, you want to take everything and just, you don't want to sweep it that hard like my helper's doing. But you want to just nice and easy, because this is your cleanup right here. This paper is now going to act like a big bag, okay? And we're going to just roll the paper up onto the garbage and have a nice big black industrial strength garbage bag to contain all of this mess. Now, one thing about asbestos. This ceiling has no asbestos in it. This ceiling was applied in 1986, but your ceiling could have asbestos. And you want to make sure that your ceiling doesn't have asbestos. And so you want to have your ceiling tested for the presence of friable asbestos. And you can go online to look at the resources in your area that will help you accomplish that. Okay? Now, just a little suggestion for you. If you want to control the mess when you're sweeping up, just spray some water in the air right over the mess so that if you have little ones helping you, maybe not. You keep the, you'll just, like rain, you'll knock the dust out of the air back down to the ground. Okay, just a suggestion. Okay, so you have a mess like this. You always want to start at the highest point. This is what a mistake you can make by not cleaning in the right step sequence. When you're working on a ceiling, the aftermath of the work, which is the cleanup, must be done from the top down. For example, if we cleaned up the floor and removed the floor cover, but still had this to do, we'd be making a grave mistake, right? So, we started with sweeping the ceiling, knocking all of the mess down onto the chandelier, which was covered, down onto this, and then down onto the floor. Then we took off the chandelier cover, because that was the next step from the ceiling. And then as we come down, we get to this. This is our last level before the floor cover comes up. And so I've done this. If you think you can just pull this off and cross your fingers, you may make a mess on your nice dresser. So what I'm going to do is go at the back of the dresser with another person, lift it up. Nothing can get behind it now because I'm holding the plastic. And I'm going to peel it like a piece of fruit, encapsulating the mess. And I'm going to go right down to the floor with my helper. And then, for all practical purposes, our dresser is clean of major debris. Okay, move on to the next step. Okay, so the area right here so far, we have the rest of this to cover. And then we already did this. This is about 12 by 15. And the debris is about 50 pounds. So you have to figure, just do the math, 50 pounds for a 12 by 15 foot space, okay? And that would be a normal amount of debris weight for this type of a job. So we moved the operation to the other side of the room, but we have essentially rendered this area nice and clean for the homeowner. Okay, you want to control the mess, and if you have a ceiling that involves multiple rooms, you want to break it off logistically to the best case scenario, whatever that is for your situation. Here, we cleaned the floor up, did this, and then we moved it over to its diagonal counterpart in the room. The rest of the room has the most furniture, so we're leaving this for the last. Okay? So you may want to apply some of those principles to your situation too. So after about 6.5 hours, we got the ceiling popcorn down. Now there is minimum, and when I say minimum, you look and you check my words. There's minimal tearing of the sheetrock paper. And if you get a little fast or a little too strong with your hand, you'll make little marks like this and like that. But I'll show you how to fix this. Now, it was near perfect over here. See how there's nothing here to complain about. Not a big deal. So anyway, now we've got to let this dry overnight. You don't want to start compounding over this when it's damp, okay? Because you want the sheetrock to dry. If you attempt to skim coat over wet sheetrock, you'll have a potential disaster in the morning with blistering or excessive shrinking. Let this dry, get the water out, and then let the compound do its work 24 hours later. We're done for now. So the next day, I decided to take my sander. This is a dustless high-end sander, just to get little things like that off, just to give it a quick passing, to get any of those things off of the ceiling that may cause dragging. Dragging. You know when you have a little rock, we call them, in the skim coat, it drags a line like that. So let's do that. As you can see, the results are near perfect. What I mean by that is we are ready to skim. Look at that. There's nothing protruding out. We're ready to give this an awfully good skim coat. And that's the benefit of having a drywall sander. You can rent one. But if not, you can use a pole sander. P-O-L-E, pole sander. Now all we have left to do is make the surface flush. Put a skim coat on it. For some of you wouldn't. I mean, I'm a perfectionist. It needs a skim coat, but it's pretty good. The point of this is that we didn't gouge the ceiling, but I'm gonna put a skim coat on it, make it look perfect. Okay. This is day 2, 48 hours after getting all of the popcorn off. With my hawk and a taping knife, a 10-inch taping knife, I proceeded to put a new skin on the ceiling. I put 2 coats of joint compound on the ceiling. Okay, as you can see, the results are amazing. I will end the video here because I don't want it to be too long for people who want an instructional video on removing popcorn. The popcorn's removed, but I want to show you that it's not that much work to get the ceiling back into order. Okay, so with a hawk and a taping knife and joint compound, we put a new surface on the ceiling. And we have no molds, no adhesion problems, no nothing. We're a day away from having the ceiling both primed and painted. Okay, what am I going to use to prime it? To prime my ceiling, I'm going to use Zinsser 123. Okay? Until the popcorn's down, the ceiling is flat, I'm going to sand it with my drywall sander, and that's it. And that's how you remove popcorn. And this is how you finish it. If you want instructional notes on how to skim coat, please see the link below in the description of this video, Spencer Colgan, How to Skim Coat. I have no less than 15 videos on skim coating. Please take your pick. Just put in the search bar, Spencer Colgan, Skim Coat. There are some very good videos that lots of new do-it-yourselfers learning how to skim coat found it very, very useful. Thank you for watching How to Remove Popcorn. This is Spencer Colgan. Please click like and please subscribe to my channel.